All right, here we go. I'll be honest, I don't think I like this lighting. Let's see if we can make it slightly. There we go. Cool. All right. Man. Howdy, Xavier. Hey, I am. Hello, Nick. Good to see you all. Yeah, they're crazy. All right, nothing there. 1, 2. I don't remember if arterial leaves respawn or not, so I'm not risking it. Oh god. 3, 4, 5. Oh god. 6. 7. 8. Yeah, 8. Oh, right, we've already gone. Okay, so. All right, so that's body, body, body. And there's some body over here where nothing's really there. But for basically 2/3 of it, there is. I wonder if we go up this way. Oh, right. Let's get rid of the clinger. He said the funny number all the children love. I completely forgotten that was a meme for God knows what reason. Kids are stupid. All generations, kids are stupid. Not like me, chat. We all know I am the pinnacle of intelligence. Alright, so nothing on the back here. Okay, so for most of it. All right, nothing there, obviously. Okay. Nothing there. Okay. Oh. So that's 3 right there, huh? Right there under the bastard, huh? Uh-huh. Uh-huh. You're not further out. Yeah, that's what we said earlier. None here. Yeah, nothing like it's under there or some shit. Okay. Nothing farther out from it either. How'd you get that far, slug boy? Get back to your pile with the others. Ah, all right. There's 1, 2. All right, so that's like what, 5 total that we've counted? Admittedly, not a lot on this example. Yeah, I'm pretty sure this character hasn't looted any either if they don't respawn, so... They don't? Okay, yeah, so if I've looted them accidentally, I might just be missing some, but I don't think I have. I think I've been careful on this character, so... All right. One. One, 2, 3. There we go. Yeah, so just those 3. Oh, because it's just a skull here. It's not... All right. This is separate. Okay. 3. Uh-huh. Uh-huh. So I think it's just those 3. All right, then what about the skull? Three more here. Right on the behind this skull. All right. I'm noticing a trend. I'm noticing a trend. There are the skeletons down there, right? Wait, how far is this from Forbidden Lands? I mean, not too far. It's definitely more like at the foot of the mountains than anything else. All right. You like your jerky, you're saying, Nick? Is that what you're trying to get across? All right. Conclusions. Those Arteria leaves are growing because of the giants. It's very consistent. They are growing around their skeletons. I don't know why. I was looking at the screenshots and I thought I might have noticed a trend, and I am unfortunately correct. This is weird because we obviously don't see it with the other giant corpses. Oh. And I don't think we see it in Caelid. Now, maybe in Caelid it's because of the Scarlet Rot. Maybe that's the mitigating factor. Because I don't know how many arterial leaves survive in Caelid in general. Like, are they about as common as they are in other areas? Like Limgrave or Liurnia or whatever? Or are they a lot rarer and stuff like that? Or are they non-existent? I don't think they're non-existent. I think you can find a few still alive, if I recall correctly. Yeah, let's see if I'm right. I think I remember seeing one like around here, maybe. Again, I could be crazy. I don't want to rule that out. Yeah, good. It's raining. Yeah, hiding from those. I thought I vaguely recall an arterial leaf being in this camp area. I guess I'm wrong. That or I'm blinder than usual, which is also possible. Definitely possible. There's one or two spots where arterial leaves around the Caelid. Oh, there are. Okay, let's check that out then. Because if so, chat, that has some possible implications. Like, what the fuck would I be? Oh, the mushroom here, right? Yeah, okay, toxic mushrooms. Wait, I don't remember. Oh. I'll be honest, I completely forgot those exist. I never loot these. Totally slipped the mind. Oh. Yeah, that's faded earth leaf or whatever it's called. Oh. Oh, there's the, yeah, it's those mushrooms for some reason, they just don't stick out to me. Hefty beast bones, that makes sense. What's the best angle to highlight that they'll even eat each other? Wow, this would be a really good shot if I could. Huh? What, Xavier? Were you not aware of these either, or am I the only one that completely blanked on their existence? Because I only remember basic mushrooms. I don't even know what you would use toxic mushrooms for. I guess some sort of poison thing? Yeah, like, I like this overall. The problem is you don't really get to clearly see the bodies. This is a bit better. There we go. No, I didn't know you could find harvestable ones. Oh. Well, I guess now we know they do exist. I wonder if they're specifically around the giants or if there's other areas with the mushroom stuff where you can grab them. Yeah, I don't remember where you would get them from loot either. Like, obviously it must exist. Yeah, there's always been the idea that arterial leaves have something to do with life, and obviously they're based on arteries, quote unquote, right? So there's always something there. So the idea that like giant blood could potentially spawn them after death isn't a crazy idea. But like the implications, like let's take a step back and think of it this way. Why are arterial leaves scattered across the lands between? My current going theory has been the crucible, it's kind of like Erd leaves, but instead of the leaves of the regular gold Erd tree, it would be leaves of the crucible. Now I've been doing deeper dives into Erd leaf stuff, and I think it might be more complicated. I'm not sure if Erd leaves are limited to post Elden Ring breaking or not yet, but at least I'm open to that idea, though for now I'm still willing to assume like they're just more prevalent now. They're not necessarily non-existent before the Shattering era. Now there we go. What does get me there we are. What does get me is the idea that, let's say it's not the crucible. What if it's just an indication of giants being prevalent? So it's not the idea that Caelid and all its megafauna are the like, how do I put this? What if the idea isn't that Caelid is the only place that produces megafauna? What if it's the only place that's still preserving it? Like, what if the idea is giants and maybe even other gigantic creatures were actually more prevalent at one point, and then there was a war, a Stone Age type war between these giants using the power of meteors, and that killed off a bunch of them all across, and then Caelid was the last place that anywhere around, and they basically kind of became like a barbarian tribe type idea. And then after the end of that, they eventually became the fire giants we know after making contact with the fell god. What if that's the idea of the reference to, oh, there were these gods and they fought or whatever, and we're like taking up their stuff, and like the reason why we find that stuff specifically, like, because keep in mind, like the idea with the greatsword is that it's an arrowhead. What if the idea is that the realm of shadow has stuff like that there because these giants were basically shooting arrows at each other from across the lands between? And the idea is that these giants, most of these giants died. They're the explanation for the faces that were cut. But like, we saw the leaked stuff that showed like giant faces and things. I think they even had like almost like a smoldering like meteorite effect on them or whatever, into the like the face of the ground. But Miyazaki and From Software are like, no, that's going to be a little too overt. It'll be distracting. It'll muddy up the lore we have, like say for Caelid and stuff, where we're trying to focus more in on the skeleton position appearances and positioning. So they decided where they were going to hide it, and they would leave it to just the arterial leaves to kind of hint at this idea that, oh, there are more giants that had once walked and fallen across the land, and that the last of them, which became the quote-unquote modern fire giants, which then became the modern trolls, were descendants of these original races of giants that are at least within the Ruin Forge stuff considered gods. Dragon's Cowler Bloom looks like arterial leaves and grows from dragon communers. Yeah, there's that aspect too, for sure. So I have been, it starts looking more and more possible because it's like, okay, what produces arterial leaf? Clearly some kind of life energy. If it's not the crucible, what else could possibly have the sheer amount of life that it would produce a blood vessel like plant? And I guess if we're going with the idea that giants are bigger, so they have more blood, and that blood means a higher density of life energy because there's so much more of it, then I can buy it. Then I can buy that. Oh, I didn't mean to do that. So again, I'm trying to put some of that stuff together in my head. And you could even make an argument, because I can't say for sure where these hypothetical giant gods originate from. It could be the idea is that they're just bigger star people. Who knows? Maybe even these giants became some of the original outer gods we're familiar with now. Like, I don't know, they died and then they transcended as stars into like some type of super earth, like, you know how we have the land gods in with the Hornsent and how they empower the land? Maybe the giants would be that, but on a larger scale, where they've so seeped into the world as it is that they're no longer just like empowering the land with like higher spirituality or something like that. Like, they have taken entire spheres of control over elements of nature, so we have stuff like the rot and death and life and, you know, all that jazz. Maybe they were burning statue heads, weren't they? They were. I remember them being giant, like, head/faces for sure, and they were like smoldering or something. I don't remember if we ever got really detailed looks of them, but they kind of reminded me of Yorm, that's for sure. I don't see arterial leaves around here. Maybe there's something you can loot? I'm definitely not seeing them here. Now, again, it could be because of Caelid. We have to also keep that in mind, that the idea with Caelid is stuff just isn't surviving as much. So that could be the idea. All right, so that's the one there. What about the one over there? Oh, hello, controller? Basically Titans from Greek mythology. I guess if you kind of consider the... If you could kind of consider the whole Godfrey and their tree people coming in and killing their descendants afterward as kind of like the Titanomachy, maybe? You know, the rise of the Olympians type idea, right? With like Godfrey and the demigods is like, you know, the new gods to replace the old. Yeah, there's a lot of questions I'd have there. But yeah, like my brain is starting to try racking this, because that's probably the one thing in my timeline I haven't been able to account for, which is when that war with the gods is. But this thing with arterial leaves and giants or whatever, that could explain it. I'm not sure if it would explain the divine towers necessarily, though the fact that the towers are so heavily associated with meteors, and we have like that meteoric ore greatsword, which is like a meteorite arrowhead. Plus, we have to give the idea that the fire giants, they master smithing, which that's always something I kind of wondering is why, because they don't really use it for anything. It's not like they're building anything big, which is understandable, because I'm pretty sure if they tried building houses, they would just take up the entire lands between, and there'd be no land left for anything. But like, they don't use it to seemingly create crazy weapons or anything like that. Like, we don't really get any sense of anything accomplished by the fire giants that don't involve like other civilizations and stuff like that. So maybe that also plays into it. I just mean like ancient giant gods. No, I get you. I get what you were trying to get. But I'm just thinking like, if I'm trying to think large scale, maybe you could try to apply it that way with like the Olympians and stuff like that as well. I'm wondering. Yeah, still nothing though. It might be a one-time thing. It might be something where like they do it for one of these skeletons. Oh, wait. Oh, wait. Now keep in mind, the only other place that I found they'd have like these giant clumps of Arteria leaves is at the Ailing village outside Kalu Baptismal Church. Again, I'm willing to just say that's a one-off, like some dev or just feeling cheeky, be like, oh, we just like drop one of these like every now and then. Maybe I'll just drop a group of 3 or something, right? Oh, there's actually 4. Oh yeah, this is more than what we see in most locations. Oh. Hello? There we go. Yeah, so right there above the neck. Maybe he's bleeding out the mouth. Also, just so I can make sure I'm not forgetting when we take this. There we go. I could have sworn some were growing on one. You might be right. Would it be this one then? Because obviously the middle area doesn't have it. Yeah, there's nothing I can loot either. Again, unless I've already looted the arterial leaves from this area before like an idiot. Oh. Yeah, I don't think it's arterial leaf. I think it's... Oh, it's the faded Erd leaf, yeah. Yeah, so now we have to look into this. But yeah, now I'm gonna have my mind kind of set on this idea of what if arteriales are something that we see the Erd tree kind of recontextualize within their view of the Crucible, which is why we see them and stuff love to collect and havoc, is like life, red, the Crucible, all that stuff, right? But that its actual association is originally with the death of giants. And the fact that we find them in small amounts scattered throughout everywhere is meant to be a hint of, oh, there were giants here. Like see here, right? This, I think, is a little too far. This, I think, is a little too far from that skull to count, for example, right? Like, this would look more like a natural growth to me. I'm gonna probably have to retake that. We should retake this shot. I don't want to do it with this thing, so... Alright, so what do I... What should I do with this information now? Oh my god, really? Another one? Huh? Huh? Controller? Game? Sorry, chat. I don't understand what's going on here. Oh. Okay. I don't know what that was. Couldn't move my thing right for a minute. I have no idea why. Oh my god, really? Oh, this has to be something like preset or whatever. This, I guess this is separate from weather effects. Let me do this. There we go. Yeah, really weird. Don't care even. Okay, let's see. Yeah, one reason I'm suspicious about Erdleaf flowers, by the way, chat, is because they don't grow on Altus. You would think the place where obviously the Altus leaves are going to congregate the most around the Erd tree would have more Erdleaf flowers, but no, it doesn't seem like they grow there at all. And it's actually the same underground in Deeproot depths. I'm now coming to the perspective that we see the leaves falling in the Deeproot depths, right? We see them falling down the passage to the river main here up until, like, I think around this juncture, and that's when they stop showing them. And then we have the Lake of Rot stuff here, which, again, I thought it was normal based on the appearance and stuff like that, and I vaguely recall looting that, but apparently not. It is, in fact, faded Erdleaf flowers here. So these are rotted, and they're growing here regardless in the rot. I think the fact that we only find them here, Duke-kissed Herba, huh? Is meant to kind of indicate that these are the leaves that, of course, were flowing downriver with the corpses and everything down here. And, you know, with the flow, obviously the Lake of Rot's where a lot of the stagnation is happening. So this is where a lot of the leaves are ending up settling. And that's where, therefore, where the, as they settle, they have chance now to grow the leaves and stuff like that, right? That would be the flowers, right? That would be the idea. But of course, the implication would then be that the flowers cannot grow around where the Erd tree and stuff is influencing. It can only be places outside of its immediate influence like that. Obviously, we have the Erd tree roots and things like that, but obviously something that's not as strong as, say, the immediate vicinity of the Erd tree, which tells me that there is a quote-unquote conscious decision to have kind of its power kind of detect as a time bomb, kind of like the Erd tree seeds performing the golden phantom trees and stuff like that. Again, obviously not the same, because we can obviously see golden phantom trees and minor trees on Altus. But I think the point being made is that, like the leaves, like just as the fallen leaves tell the story as they fall around, I think they're also they're kind of being sent out in a way by the quote-unquote dying tree, which I don't think can ever actually die. I don't think the Erd tree is actually capable of truly. I guess I should say it's impossible, but I don't think it's actually, under normal circumstances, actually going to die. We obviously see it burned under the Flame of Ruin, then the Elden Ring gets restored, and it's back to being perfectly healthy. So I think it's probably, if it can die, it's going to be a really, really long time, because it's been dying really, really slowly. And I think even when you try to burn it and stuff like that, it's just not that effective. You need the Flame of Ruin to obviously be at the very least threatening. Again, we're not even trying to kill the Erd Tree with the Flame of Ruin. We're just trying to literally get rid of the thorns of rejection and stuff like that. We're just basically trying to do collateral damage to ensure we can make our way inside of it, and then it's going to be perfectly fine under the assumption, like, no one assumes that we're permanently burning down the Erd Tree. We're just burning it so that way we can get ourselves inside. I don't remember. Oop. No, I think this is supposed to be... It's supposed to be rock? Maybe it's supposed to be the body without the head part? Frenzy Flame definitely kills. Yeah, Frenzy Flame, I think, though, is a little different. Because Frenzy Flame's whole point is to, like, destroy everything, and we're not doing... Again, I don't think the idea is that the Erd Tree is going to... I think despite the Erd Tree obviously clearly fearing for its own death, it's not actually going to die in its current circumstances. And that it's clearly can weather much more than just the Elden Ring being broken and stuff. Oh, wait, is that... No, those aren't teeth. Yeah, I can't tell. This might be, I might have to check, like, Zuli's vid, because didn't Zuli do a vid? We're taking off some of this stuff, so maybe it is a piece of a giant and stuff like that, but it's not obvious to me looking at this all covered. But it's also a bit weird for me for there to be, like, random mountain things sticking out. I can't believe it's not a cave. It's hard to tell with the body. I just don't think we've ever seen anything where it's just like this or anything. There's more there, obviously. There's over there. I definitely don't remember arterial leaves growing around this guy. And again, if it's just the one odd arterial leaf, I'm not sure if I'd want to give that too much credence. Because clearly when they do it, it's never just the one arterial leaf, it's a bunch of them. So, like, we should be looking for a lot more. Uh-huh. Yeah, nothing on the body part as far as I can tell. We got Miranda flowers growing on it. Ew. Yeah, nothing else there. I will say it is a pretty color, though. They do look pretty. Well, now we can loot at least. Oh, wait, but this is... Yeah, no. Yeah, I don't think they'd have arterial leaves here when they have all these guys put up here. I think I'd remember it if they did. Oh. Horrid leaf flower. Yeah, no. No arterial leaf growing in a patch here. Again, I'm willing to chalk some of this up to Scarlet Rot, but I want to see like a comparison of being like, okay, like per capita of like, you know, of square area, how many arterial leaves do we got between Limgrave, Weep Peninsula, Liurnia, and Caelid? Like, is Caelid way below the threshold and therefore tells us that a lot of the arterial leaves are probably dead? The fact that we see any alive is already interesting. Oh, 1 second, chat. I think the dog wants me. She wanted to come in and sleep, and so I shall let her come in and sleep. Oh boy. Oh. Before I forget, we'll do that. There we go. Ah, back from the dead. All right, I forgot how many of these they give you. Not that I'm complaining. I wouldn't want to go through long stretches of Caelid on my own either. I forget, do these do rot or normal poison still? Normal dragonflies. Alright, so obviously we have those there. They're in low poly form right now. We have one there, one there. Yeah, looking at low poly, I can't tell what that's supposed to be. Maybe a shoulder? It might be a shoulder or something. I don't know, it's just kind of weird because it's just like the one part. I don't recall seeing that anywhere else either, so it's just kind of weird. Nothing over there. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and that might be it. There's one. Again, that one I'm willing to just kind of chalk up. Another toxic mushroom. Another one over here too. Again, maybe I've looted more from here already. Like I just kind of casually did it one time. Again, I try to avoid doing that with arterial leaves because I'm pretty sure, yeah, they don't respawn. But I maybe might have done it accidentally. I'm not gonna discount that. But otherwise, I'm not gonna put too much stock on just seeing the one here. Now, maybe if we see more around it in like a string, that would be a different story. Not really seeing that. We're seeing a lot more faded earthleaf flowers, which are definitely consistent. I didn't realize until I was looking through screenshots to actively spy them, and I'm like, oh, there's one in that area, that area. Like, these things are ridiculously common. Like, you pass, like, we've passed them so, like, see, like, it can be hard to go much distance without passing one of these things. Like, these earthleaf stuff, these are, like, stupidly common. I wonder if they get slightly less common as you get to Liurnia. And then obviously they disappear at Altus. So I do wonder if there's kind of like, oh, the amount of distance determines a lot, maybe. I could see that. Definitely haven't seen any other arterial leaves here. Nothing's growing in those eyes. Ah! Oh, God. Lord have mercy. What are we doing here? Oh. All right, I'm close enough. It might actually load in. I don't see any lootable stuff floating here. So maybe not. That or there really is none in this. Oh, is that Elder Lion laying down, or is he just turned around? No, yeah, he was just chilling. Ah! How did that kill me? Yeah, okay. Wait, never mind. Now I want to double check something because, oh. Yeah, that was a whole body, so. Yeah, we should be checking thoroughly around there too, just to be safe. No arterial leaves up here. There's the basin over here. Still got some clean water. There we go. Sorry to say, Nick, your message got taken out by the YouTube AI moderating or whatever they do. I don't know how it works. Whatever you were trying to say, clearly YouTube didn't appreciate it. Nope. Nope. Oh. Yep, nothing. Okay. Sure, wherever that Snake America is, we'll take it. I like how we have white wolves and gray wolves, and we have something similar with these giant dogs too. So they end up looking a little bit more brown and yellow, I assume, because of the rot and all that stuff, and the, you know, the dirt and the filth and blah blah blah. Right. Now I was gonna relay some info from the wiki, but thought twice about the dependability of the source. Yeah, probably for the best then. I mean, I think I mentioned on stream, right, how I've been going down the rabbit hole with the dragonflies, because I think it's that one up there has one of them, but we'll look in a sec. How we have, obviously we have the giant dragonflies in Caelid in general, but across all areas we have a thing where, yeah, here it is, where the dragonflies at these graveyard areas, usually cliffside cemetery types, they're green instead of brown. And I was trying to think about, like, why is that? Oh, that's what died. Oh, okay. So like what causes these dragonflies to die? And I came to the conclusion now. There we go. Just want to make sure I got that shot right. Anyway, so I was thinking about it, and I was coming to the conclusion that maybe it has to do with the spirit jellyfish, because I'm like, okay, so it has to do with like the poison, right? Because they like poison, and green is code as poison in the game, so maybe this idea that they've just collected a whole lot of extra poison, or a special kind of poison, or what have you, right? Again, as far as I can tell mechanically, there's no difference from these dragonflies to others. But I was starting to go down that rabbit hole, and I was like, okay, what does poison? Then I learned from the Discord, you guys that there were telling me, oh, the jellyfish does poison. I'm like, wait, it does inflict poison? And I'm like, oh, so we have a spirit jellyfish, which inflicts poison, and we tend to find those manifesting at graveyards. And then we have a case where you have all these green dragonflies, which appear at cliffside cemeteries, but obviously there's never a spirit jellyfish around. I think the closest we get is here at Murkwater, where we have the green dragonflies here, and then we have some spirit jellyfish almost hiding in the shadows of the ruins, which makes me be like, are they afraid of the dragonflies? Like, are they trying to escape the dragonflies' wrath or something? Because if that's the case, that's interesting, because that could then be like, oh, dragonfly here. That's a sign of that's a sign. Ooh, I know what we can do here. That's a sign basically that spirit jellyfish are in this area, or they manifested here. And again, depending on why or how spirit jellyfish manifest, that could be very informative for us. It's the way of the devs trying to tell us more about the context of a graveyard location without just reusing the same enemy every single time. You know? Wait, I respawned and already one of you died? How does that work? Like, how are you all already dead? All right. All right. Yeah, I don't know why that guy in the back was there, because he was clearly in my line of sight, but whatever. Whatever. I don't know why you die either, my friend. That doesn't make much sense to me. Yeah, so that's on my mind with the dragonflies. There's something going on there for why they're turning green in those locations and not at like their swamp places. I couldn't find anything on green dragonflies in general that I thought was relevant. Sorry, Chad, I'm a little tired, I think. I think exhaustion is coming upon me. How inconvenient. Let's go from Church of the Plague. Oh, sod off, ya ninny. Just walk it off. There we go. Yeah, I would be surprised if there were Arteria leaves here. Wait. Was it just me or did you hear a noise? Huh. Guess that groaning was just the ghost in my closet. Oh well. Guess I'm getting haunted today, chat. Oh, it might just be maybe that what we saw was just a giant like root stump or something. They were, no, that doesn't make sense still. Oh. On the giant skeleton, huh? All right. All right, so glass smithing stone on top of the giant skeleton head. That's nothing. That's nothing surprising. But I guess I do have to question why the polar stone. Is the glassification just because of the cold, or is it something specifically with giants? Because usually when I think of glass, I think of heat, right? Like you heat sand and it becomes glass. I have to compare with the other glass smithing stone locations, you know? Also, can we get some glass smithing stone from the Celia crystal tunnel? Like, doesn't the Falling Star Beast drop a few of those, or is it only gold smithing stone it drops? I can't remember now off the top of my head. Because if it drops some of the quote-unquote polar stone stuff, might be indicative of some of the fire and things. There we go. Where else do we see giant scarabs, by the way, chat? Outside of Caelid / Dragon Barrow, does anyone remember any other places where we find giant scarabs that are as tall as us? Oh, believe me, there's so much that's been going through my brain lately. I have many questions about things. There we go. So we have the giant hemosiclium there. We have some land octopuses in the pond doing land octopus and pond things. Okay. 1 second. Let's just change up our background music. Sure. Dark orchestral music for the betrayal of a mentor. I love betraying my mentors. There we go. There's, I think, an invisible one in front of Karya Manor. It would be Karya Manor. Oh my god, it would be. Oh my. Oh no. There's one in the Divine Bridge toward the Forbidden Lands. Will transform into a giant one after being hurt. Wait, so it transforms into a giant one. Oh. Okay. Okay. Oh, I'm not gonna like this, chat. I'm not gonna like this at all, but we have to consider it now. Let's look here. Like more of those mushrooms. Oh. Yeah, so I have not found any arteria leaves growing atop. And there's another giant one. Yeah, so I've talked about it before, right? This idea that Caelid just has a lot of megafauna, right? Like just a lot of giant ass creatures. Let's look up here. Yep, nothing growing on top of here either. Oh, of course. One near Queen's bedchamber. Is there? There's a giant one? I feel like I remember if there was one, but I guess I'm just I just wasn't paying attention maybe. Just a giant ass one at the Erdtree Sanctuary area, huh? Got nothing else to say here. Yeah, I thought so. Okay, Nick, do you remember specifically where the one near the Queen's bedchamber is? Because I might not have killed it yet, so I'd want to go check it out. No, that's... All right. That's the last one I think we have over that away. I want to see if there's any in here. I don't think so, but yeah, normal Erdtree flowers in here. Also funny to think about Erdtree leaves making it in here. Obviously we have a deer here. Okay, they don't show arterial leaf here. We do see some is a somber smithing stone one. Huh. Oh, also budding cave moss. Is budding cave moss mostly limited to Altus? I can't remember where exactly we find it. Like, is it mostly like an Altus Gelmir type thing? There's normal cave moss there. Yes, let's check the one by the Colosseum. Oh, I've never been to the. Oh no, I've been to the deep well. Yeah, okay. I just had trouble locating it. Okay, cool. Let's switch characters for this shot. I don't want burning Erdtree in the background, even though that's pretty. ABC, I think, can handle this. I talk about this in Lookout Stones, but okay, yeah. Loads it all in. Let's go this way. There we go. Really? Still? I swear, chat, some of the shit that they make me have to do. The hoops I go through. It's not Dragon Barrow, it's Caelid. Give me a clear day in Caelid. There we go, save me some trouble in the future if I need to come back here. Oh, but the item. The item, chat. The item. I didn't loot the item on this character. Well, I should mention that it's locked. I never even thought about that, but I should mention that the fact that it's been locked for the Radon thing. Another update for Radon. Oh my god. It never ends. Yeah, because Nox would normally use this because the connection between Nocron and Celia, right? All right. All right, there we go. Yeah, lock out the rod and all that stuff. There we go. Maybe we could have gotten shots with the door shut, but who cares? I'll worry about that maybe when we're doing Nox shots. All right. All right. There we go. There we go. Damn. Would have been cool if the boat wasn't there. I could get a good shot of that, but no. It was not to be. All right. Damn. So D loads that if you load in the Coliseum, huh? Very interesting thing. Very interesting that. Hmm. Let's get rid of that. There we go. There we are. All right, there we go. Yeah, obviously nothing here for us. That'd be by the shack, huh? All right. So yeah, I don't think we get any arteriales except for maybe that one instance, which might be a hint, because I don't recall there being that many examples. Like I said, we found one at Ailing Village, but I don't think there's that many examples. Yeah, look, here we are. I still think there's that many examples we could possibly have of a bunch of groups of arteriales in random locations, right? Especially not 4 of them. 4 of them's a lot, you know? Wow, really put nothing to over here, huh? So we got our lone crazy guy, and the rest are our sheep dogs. Okay, Somber smithing stone near the queen's bedchamber. Okay. All right. Right, no Tauren here. Obviously, I hate how low poly this is. This is probably the thing that annoys me the most. This I don't think I recall seeing in Farum Azula. We might have seen this. Correct me if I'm wrong. Actually, no, I think it's easier to see. No, I think the better option was at the village. Like, I can see a situation where this, or that's just a low poly. Now, maybe that's why they made it low poly, because they know they wanted it to be a distinctive and meaningful symbol in Farum Azula, and so they didn't want it to be obvious they were reusing the asset for Elaine Dell, right? There we go. But, you know, there's been a lot of talk, I know, about the possibility of the Erd Tree Kingdom just taking an existing beast temple and then just kind of reconsecrating it as an Erd Tree temple. Right? I don't know if it would make sense to then keep an old style symbol, right? Like the triangle aspect definitely looks similar for sure. I said the problem is they keep it so low poly. It's so obnoxious. I don't know, Chad. What do you guys think? I don't know. I don't know if I see it. I kind of make out like a 6 figure, but I don't think it's necessarily this shape. So again, it could be even something even more generic that they were using, that they didn't want to highlight. Yeah, the problem is just it's so obviously low poly that they didn't even try. Like this, at least at this distance, you can see it, right? Huh. Huh? Huh. Interesting how this one's not, Not coming with the same brightness as the sanctuary. Almost like a shadow to the gold, you might think. Yeah, because we do see shared motifs like this between Farum Azula and Erdtree, but I get the feeling, again, like we see this, for example. This is, I think, a Dark Souls 3 asset from Cathedral of the Deep. And it's got like the pregnant women and stuff on it, but we see it used in a lot of places there too, so I'm not sure how much I really want to put stock into that. I forget how commonly this thing is used. Oh, sorry. Sorry, chat, didn't mean to bang the mic. All right, let's see. Oh yeah, I should just be using saying ornamenting Lingdale in general. Yeah, I think I need to update for shattering to take that into consideration, because I didn't realize just how often this ornament's used to top buildings and stuff. Like it is frequent. It is frequent. Got everything struggling to load now. Oh god. Rendering distance, chat, rendering. I think that's the next thing on the agenda. Yeah, like what is this? What is this with the buildings? I think it's actually better when we were up here. I still not seeing that that giant, that supposedly giant scarab. Is it like on the Erdtree roots? Ah, something! God, it just, obviously there's the Erdtree burning in the background, but just there's so much obvious low poly resolution. Yeah, if it's by the bedchamber, great and all, I have no idea. I might have killed it accidentally or something, but I do not remember this. The other one was what? By the Forbidden Lands thing? I do vaguely recall there being a scarab here. I don't remember if it grew big, though. Oh, we should check the bodies there, too. Yeah, I might have killed it. Oh no, it's alive. All right. These things don't have respawn limits, right? So it's not growing, chat. So I've heard it, but it won't. Huh. It's not growing bigger. Maybe I screwed it up because it wasn't, yeah, maybe I screwed that up. 1 second. Wait, did they all do that? I don't remember them leaving a little aura thing behind. What am I watching? Me doing experiments, that's what. All right, let's do this. There we go. Oh, damn. I'm having controller problems again, chat. It's just, it never ends. I feel like I'm constantly having to get new controllers or something. Come on. Let's do this. I'll even do it with the normal weapon first. Oh. I don't remember these things being passive originally. God, it's been so long. Oh, it's because I hit the always stealth already by accident. Okay. Okay. We're fixing this. I need to stop being retarded. Always stealth off. There we go. Huh, I guess they do. Okay. The more you know. I don't know if the trees are supposed to be because of Morgoth's seal or because the area in general has been forbidden for so long. There you go. All right. They use the same rug here, right? Yeah, okay. All right. Oh, right. I forgot now that always stealth is off. Of course these guys are hostile. We don't see these on the actual Flame Peak, these little like red energy stuff that we see at Radio Lucaria in blue. Pretty sure we can't go around here anyway. We might. Yeah, might be able to. Nothing back here to justify it, of course. I feel like I remember if there were lootables here. The other aspect about the Arteria Leaf that's curious is, again, correct me if I'm wrong, I don't think we can loot, we can harvest any growing in Liurnia, not Liurnia, in the Land of Shadow. I'm pretty sure that entire realm is basically Arteria Leaf free, which again makes it even more curious, because then let's say that we're right, does that mean there were no giants at all in that area? They were just slinging arrows at each other, and sometimes they would land on the island in the middle? Would that be the idea? Yeah, it's so consistent on the mountaintops, and yet Caelid is so rare, and it's not here on Forbidden Lands either. So yeah, I don't think we can fault. I think we can fault the Scarlet Rot here. I think they just decided not to have them there, which tells me either A, there's some other additional factor for why they're showing up on the mountaintops, or B, it's a stylistic decision, because they only wanted to give the payoff on the Arteria Leaf once you made it to Flame Peak, where the giants quote unquote live, and everything else was just kind of build up teases and hints to this payoff. Uh-huh. Uh-huh. Only a couple of base game stuff shows up in the DLC. Yeah, like I don't think even Roa grows in the DLC, right? Mm-hmm. Okay. So the next thing that's really kind of bugging me is what's the story here with this minor Erd tree? So like for one, I have to assume the minor Erd tree was being studied, and that's why the person converted, right? Like that has studying the South America. Again, sorry, Chad, I'm so tired. Converts to America worship in the process of learning more about the golden trees and stuff. Fair enough, right? Fair enough. Uh-huh. Yeah, nothing there. And this one just gives you the basic reward. Yeah, guy seems definitely more interested in the history and the glintstone angle than anything. Yeah, lots of books upstairs. Most focus on crystals down there. I think it's just the one nascent butterfly, a couple stormhawk feathers, and golden fireflies in the hinterlands. Yeah, the golden fireflies I recall. Stormhawk feathers, maybe it's like a vaguely familiar, but unfortunately, when I think Stormhawk feathers in an unusual location, I think Church of Vows. Speaking of unusual, we get the Rupture Hollow, which is like a defect. Sorry, not Hollow. Rupture, not DS2. It's DS2 too. The Rupture Crystal Tier, I think it is. That's what it's called. Obviously, yes, we have the like unique grass and stuff that only appears in these like sorcerer areas for God knows what reason. I don't know. Oh. But I don't know about the rupture one, because what's causing the defect? The only other time we find it is, of course, at the destroyed tree by the mountaintops, which again, yeah, that checks out. But it's like, these trees haven't yet died to the rot. This one obviously gets millennia rotted. So what's this one's deal that it gets ruptured? Like, what's the story there? I don't recall any additional items that really kind of go into this. There's a couple of corpses with them in Blackkeep. Okay. So that's just this kind of has me scratching my head. Because I'm like, what's causing the defect? Like what? Like what's like error does not compute? I think it's the Revenger Shack nearby, right? Like, maybe the Albanorex? Because they're like silver, not gold, so it makes a mistake when dealing with them? Question mark. I guess that can make sense because, yeah, there's Albanorex guarding this tree too, and that's the only other thing I can think of. Because it causes explosiveness, right? Like, yeah, that's the only thing I think of is that silver and gold are incompatible, so it causes an error, right? Yeah, I think that's probably the explanation. Because you have the cerulean crystal tier. Yeah, cerulean crystal tier. And then you have, which of course represents sorcerers, magic, and that makes sense in this area, especially with the catacomb. And then you have the rupture. And again, the only commonality between them are Albinaurics nearby. You have some guarding the minor Erdtree there. And then you have more, of course, in their village, or were in their village. So I can see how the resulting crystal tiers reaching out, reacting to stimuli would cause an error. Okay, so that solves that mystery. Okay. Also, the foot soldiers at Haligtree drink them to kamikaze. Yeah, that's true. We also have that. The whole going explosive for sure. I mean, do they drink that out of like an Estus flask, or is it an actual a physichemist or whatever they call them flask? Okay, so that source explains that. That actually makes sense because we also have the signs of maybe Albinaurics in at the Haligtree. It'd be funny if the Haligtree Albinaurics are also causing errors that the soldiers take advantage of by creating those kamikaze potions. Oh my god, that'd be so funny. Not even Miquella's pure gold will accept them, chat. Oh, what a funny fate. All right, so that's covered there. That also explains that one as well, in some ways. Yeah. This one I think was the most funny to me because it's just a it's just like a basic damage negation tier plus a gradual healing one. So it's like, yeah, I'll be able to tank a big hit, and then like I'm not really concerned. I could just kind of take it nice and slow on the healing. I don't need to rush, because I assume the idea is that these bozos are supposed to try to be threatening it. Like they're probably trying to be like, we'll get back at what you did to our friends at the forest ruins down there. We'll take out your precious Erdtree. Rah! And well, we see the result. So the tree is like totally unconcerned about these guys. It's like, yeah, sure, try it, Buster. I'm not expecting you to do anything serious. The Knights have a flask and a full heal with a cerulean tier. Okay, so they have, again, not Estus flask, but flasks of Crimson tier style model. Okay. They full heal with a cerulean tier though? That's a bit weird, because you usually don't heal with cerulean, so maybe just a weird model mistake. The soldiers use poison aromatics. That I do not remember the poison for sure. Mm-hmm. So we have the giant ones, the giant scarabs to look out for, see if there's any trends there. Because I've been thinking, chat, and I've been wondering. I'm trying to find the commonality between, obviously, the whole everything is bigger in Caelid, right? But then we also have these just plain normal ass giant land squirts here, right? And that has me wondering, because we just so happen to find a bunch of giant land squirts in the lead up to the big unique green crystal mine. At the same time, we know let me give it up. There we go. At the same time, we know that these land squirts only appear in Caelid or otherwise in the Giants mountaintop catacomb. Now, I say in my analysis currently that maybe Marika could have sourced them from the ravine because they're right outside the plateau, right? She could easily source the tinier land squirts from the moat of Lanedell and stuff like that, right? But I've been starting to think, what if they're not there because she had to bring in the big ones from all the way over here or all the way down here? What if it was from over here? What if, just like with the dogs and crows, some mad lad among the giants decided he was going to bring his pet land squirt all the way over here? And then Marika seizes it, of course, and is like, oh, I could do a funny, and then imports the tiny land squirts to go with it in her wonderful copy paste catacomb plan. No, it's a physic. It just has the cerulean crystal tier particle effect and sound. Oh, okay, good to know. So they use the physic flask model. Okay. The Flask of Wondrous Physic is what I think it was called, right, in English? Yeah, that makes sense. Okay. The Wonder Drug. Okay. So I'm thinking, chat, if that's the case, then it may be the giants were actually living or residing in the Runestorm Precipice area at the bottom in Liurnia. Which puts into context the use of Giant Hunt, or not use, I should say, the presence of Giant Hunt as a reward from the Knights Cavalry here. Because that would then tell us the Knights Cavalry. I thought maybe the idea of Giant Hunt was to imply stuff about the trolls. Fighting trolls and stuff in the Liurnian Wars. Now I have to think, oh, what if it wasn't about hunting the giants that were serving Caria? What was about having the giants that were working with the Farum colonists over here, right? Because they clearly, the fire giants have a general interest in Gelmir and stuff like that. Clearly there's this trend there with the trolls and things that we could trace back to this. And then there's this crystal that happens to be right there at the foot of Gelmir, more or less, with these unique crystals and stuff like that. And then you have the giant stuff here and a giant hunt here. So I'm thinking maybe as part of the diplomacy between Caria and the Erdtree Kingdom, that one of the things that they would be discussing is about the ability to kind of come in here and clean house with the giants living at the foot, because hey, if you're going to be our friend or whatever, you're not going to harbor our mortal nemesis, right? So I could see that being part of the Liurnian relations we see pre-Liurnian Wars. And then on top of that, this would give a justification for when the Liurnian Verse kick off, why they're aware of the mine entrance at both sides, right? So they could have been working in the mine on the top side later, but then what about understanding the bottom half, especially because it looks like may not have gotten a lot of attention until more recently with the cuckoos. If so, then this would explain why the passage was known about and something that Radagon could march his army down, because they'd already been hunting down giants here in Liurnia for a brief stint, probably before the Giant War, I imagine. This is probably around the time they're massacring them, like at the Sun Capital and over here by the Gelmir area. We also find the Serpent God Greatsword in the Runestone Precipice. That's true as well, right? So it try to highlights the connection, right? Because like we find, for example, the Barbarian thing, right? So they definitely want to help, like, consider that the Runestone Precipice is basically Altus and Gelmir, right? Like, it is very much in the vicinity there. That is super true. So yeah, I'm starting to think that, yeah, these land squirts aren't random. There isn't some special factor in the water here that's causing them to grow big like they do in Caelid. I think it's very much a case of, oh, hey, we want to hint that giants are here. We don't want to use the giant dogs or crows. We don't really have models that are conducive to that, right? Because they could justify, like, the hair loss the dogs have because of all the frost and the cold and frostbite and stuff like that, right? They could justify that stuff for their skin and stuff that way. And the crows, they have the model where the crow does have, like, snow and stuff on its feathers and things. So that they have that working. For here, though, it's like, okay, you're either just doing the crow here. And it's going to look a little weird because there's, like, some of the bumps and stuff. And the dogs, of course, which are going to look hairless, which is going to look really weird in this area. Or you can use the land squirts, right? It's a ravine. There's lots of water. It leads up to the mine. Like, I think this just makes sense that they naturally gravitate toward this. And then you can imagine America in these hunts. Like, this either is how she knows about the land squirts in this ravine, because they hunted all the pet's owners beforehand in the Giant War, and then she applies that knowledge to the catacomb, like I said. Or, and I think this is more likely, she doesn't even bother trying to import any from there. There was already one here on the mountaintops, and there were probably many more, and they brought their pets with them when they migrated down here to study the rocks and stuff like that. So I think that's the idea. I think this in Giant Hunt is meant to hint at that. Interesting that, therefore, that the Knights Cavalry would pick this thing up. So, just to kind of help everyone keep track, we have giants, fire giants living in Caelid. I don't know if they had the face of the fell god in them at this point, but I think they were already using fire for sure, because that would also make sense with the Rana lore. They move north. They take over the summit. I guess First Peak is like here or something like that, invisible or what have you. And then they were also connecting stuff to there. But anyway, neither here nor there. They're all living here in this area, right? So, let's say the Farum Azula stuff extends to over here, right? And this was like where they climbed from Farum Azula to Forbidden Lands, and Forbidden Lands wasn't this strip of land. It was once part of the larger Farum Azula, so it was much bigger. They do that. Then, in the course of their work, they you know, they face the resistance. They take over the summit from the ice dragons, and the farm colonies start getting established, right? So you take the bridge, take the bridge from this divine tower all the way over to here. Then you establish the colonies and stuff like that. You establish the Sun Capital. Giants and stuff are coming over, and they're having interactions with the Sun Capital people. Now, I don't know if the Fell God is connected to the sun or not. I've been getting that suspicion lately, but I don't know for sure if the sun and the Fell God are synonymous, especially like I said before. I'm curious. I don't know if there's a one sun. So maybe the Fell God, if he has any connection to the sun, it's so far as he is one of the possible suns. Maybe he's a particularly bright sun or something. I don't know. Again, need to look more into this. But we have giants basically interacting with the Sun Capital and stuff like that, which makes sense because sun, fire, you know, cooperation, shared motifs with the Fell God, all that jazz. Farm colonies are, of course, expanding out to Gelmir and stuff like that. Giants are also brought over to this region, and they're also hanging out here. I do now wonder if could be more hints of that somewhere on Gelmir that I'm not thinking of, because they're very subtle with the Ravenmount stuff, so there may be even more with the giants I'm not picking up yet. And while they also are doing stuff around the old Altus Tunnel and Windham and Volcano Manor and Gelmir in general and stuff like that, you have few that descend here with their pets over here. Meantime, it's possible there are still some fire giants who remained in Caelid and never left, and there's maybe some talk and interactions with them back and forth, which again might explain some of the stone stuff. Though again, I'm willing to be open to the possibility that some of the polar stones we would see, especially if it is in something like Celia Crystal Tape. I have to double check what the Falling Star Beast gives us. It could be just a case that it's not because of the cold that these half-glassed smithing stones form, but because of the heat and the fire and stuff like that, and that's the influence. The fellow god is probably the polar star. You think so? I don't know enough about polar stars in actual, like as a concept in obviously actual astronomy. So I probably want to look more into that, but I mean, it's not a terrible idea. It would add to the reasons to go to the mountaintops beyond wanting to get closer to the god. So it's definitely something to consider. Anyway, so there may have still been fire giants in this area, and then Radahn hunted them. Because you have to keep in mind, America and crew, obviously not the giants aren't their focus. Throughout much of the history after the Giant War, they don't really care about them as much. And then if there are any giants that are still kind of just hanging out in the wilds or whatever, they're probably not involved in the Fringe Folk Rebellion in any meaningful way. And so they wouldn't have, for example, they wouldn't have any relationship with the giants who or with the farm colonists who had relations with the mountaintop giants versus these, say, Remainer Caelid giants. The point is that there may have been some giants still left in the wild. America and Godfrey and crew aren't really paying attention to them. By the time they finish their conquest against the rebels from the farm colonists, they get all that conquest. Obviously Godfrey loses his tarnished stuff with others, and they get booted out, and then Radagon they have to go back and make Radagon king and all that. So you can definitely see the idea that Radahn may be when Radahn's being put in charge and stuff, and he's going through all that jazz, that hunting the giants is like a lower priority because it's this far fringe land where it's never really been really focused. But now Radahn has the opportunity to kind of keep his skills honed for him and his men by handling that. So I could definitely see it. To establish the connection with the astrologers. So you think the polar star thing is a way to get the fire giants and the Stargazer village working together and stuff and building relations? Maybe. I can also see it just because they're neighbors, and unlike the Zamor, the Stargazers aren't attacking, trying to kill them. Plus, again, they have that stargazing share thing where it's like, oh yeah, hey, you like to look at the sky? So do we. Oh, you came to the mountaintop to look at the stars closer? So did we. So I could see that playing a role into it as well. Anyway, this is a lot. This was a whole heckin' lot. I'm very happy about that Minor Tree one, because that one was bugging me. So I'm glad that one kind of like came together finally. The Arteria Leaf stuff, that's going to be, again, it's going to take, I think, a long time for me to really kind of crystallize my thoughts on that. And how that's going to fit into the larger timeline and the larger implications of all that. But it's definitely something to consider for sure. Because if there's this idea that Arteria Leaves are signs of giants and stuff, and we can find Arteria Leaves dotting in at least small numbers all across the lands and stuff, and the idea that we may have had like let's say let's call them super giants just for the sake, because the skeletons are so big and stuff like that. So let's say that we have this race of super giants once upon a time who had walked the earth, and they when they die, they leave Arteria Leaves and things like that growing in their wake in at least a few cases. And the reason they all die is because they basically took a bunch of meteors that they, like, Stone Age style, carved and shaped into arrowheads and maybe simple blades or, knives or something. And they proceed to try to kill each other with it, like shooting arrows across the lands between. Some of them landing deep, landing in in the realm of shadow, not the realm of shadow, but you know, the land in the middle of the lands between, that would become the realm. Yeah, we'll just call it realm of shadow to keep it simple. So they drop it in like the realm of shadow, and then those things become part of the forge's materials to uncover. If you assume these spears the ice giants have are some kind of aberrant sorcery, makes sense. The guys who adore the Bloodstar are near the fire monks and Prelude. I mean, the guys who, I mean, that makes sense because most of the people who are coming, ironically, to become fire monks and stuff are criminals. Like it's an exile thing. The Erdtree Kingdom takes some of their people and let's take some of their criminals and they exile them to the Forbidden Lands, where they basically become watched over by the fire monks, and the fire monks basically try to quote unquote rehabilitate them. Right? It's like, hey, we're gonna put you into the monastic life. That's the worst punishment we can think of for you. And as we can see, you know, there's the whole thorns bleeding their eyes and shit. Like, it's not like, you know, they have to earn losing the briars that are punishing them as is. And obviously, in the pursuit of that, do we see some of them who get like blood blinding their eyes and stuff like that from the thorns? They see the Bloodstar and end up discovering the sorceries and stuff. So that's where that's supposed to come from. Still, I do agree that the idea of the Polar Star, having some significance related to the Fell God is at least worth pursuing. Like I said, I'm starting to wonder if stars are more localized, if like suns and different stars in the sky or whatever, if it's actually localized by your actual location. Not sure how exactly to describe that in a sense, but like the idea that basically kind of, it's not just, oh, they're flowing and moving in the sky like we're seeing right now, right? Like they're going day after day. Like, it's like, no, like maybe even every day it's not even the same sun that you see rising and falling. Like maybe it's a different sun every time. Because here we have this idea that the moons are obviously, there's not just one moon, for example, as we see. There could be multiple, and they can even exist in the sky at the same time. They could even be the same kind of moon, like the twin moons we see, and exist at the same time. So there's just so much on the cosmology to consider. We also might have made a breakthrough on some stuff. Credit to Zuli on this. She found something interesting that I'm going to want to probably look into myself. So we'll see if that takes us anywhere. It might. It just might. But yeah, I'm running. I was looking through the stuff and I'm like, a lot of the topics, like say Godric, Radon, definitely Rykard, Lyrian Civil War, like there's a bunch of stuff that I'm like, I'm starting to move around and do updates to things on like smaller stuff, like, oh, Malekith's armor and design and the cape stuff, let's add that to God Hunts. Oh, the Vow of the Indomitable thing, I don't think this is a Fringe Folk Rebellion piece of lore, actually looks like it's actually a Godric piece of lore. Okay, let's change and move that, right? Like, I kind of, as I'm working through that kind of process, I'm getting to the point now where I feel like there's less and less to talk about when it comes to like items and stuff in each area, right? Like there are some things like, oh, you can loot, like, say, I don't know, Smoldering Butterfly, but like it's not something anything like too notable where it's like, okay, they're trying to tell something thematically, or they're trying to actually you know, build the world in the immediate vicinity of the area. Like none of that's really happening. Instead what we're seeing is we're seeing that like a lot of these items where it's like, okay, no, these are kind of like inconsequential. They're like basic cotton or something like that, right? It's like, okay, maybe you're making a joke about like, oh, haha, like this character wants to drop down, but they want to soften their landing, but obviously cotton's not going to work or whatever, so they will just stay on this ledge and die or something, right? I think we're getting to the point now where like a lot of the stuff there is like really small, minor things that have like maybe basic, very, you know, superficial reasoning behind them. And in that that scenario, it's kind of like, oh, I might have a lot more done on some of these areas than I initially thought. That's actually kind of exciting, if so. because the more we like knock off stuff and it's like, oh, okay, like now I'm like thinking about like only the stuff that's like got big picture relevance, like, oh, okay, what about Roa fruit, for example, right? Like I don't remember if I had ever found a name origin for Roa, or if there's anything you know, meaningful there. But like when we're working on like, you know, stuff like that where it's like, okay, is there any specific meaning to Roa fruit, anything we can get on that? Like it's like, okay, now we're talking about like really broad, really low concept stuff. Oh, there we go. So I'm that actually gets me, that actually kind of gets me excited, because it means now like some of the obviously there's still remaining stuff. Eternal Cities is a big one, but I already have like all the data I think on items and stuff for that area. I'm not sure if there's too much new there. Maybe some stuff that might tie back into Mikola or the Fallen Hawks or something like that. But I think I've covered that stuff pretty thoroughly in one form or another. And then like I said, some of the ancient dynasties stuff or whatever, but like a lot of that is just like actually taking the data we have, so more than actually finding and interpreting that data, as it were, in the field. So like, yeah, I'm getting happier and happier with the progress on this. Might want to shift to Bloodborne though, because like I said, there's a lot of the smaller topics I'm now done and I'm over with. A lot of it's going to be back to big stuff, and it might take a while to get some of these theses done for ER and stuff like that. Might be better to focus more on BB and get like the big Loran stuff done, and then some of the smaller topics, and then like work toward Blood's Beginning. I'm thinking along those lines. Plus, one of the nice things if I switch over to Bloodborne is it gives my brain time to kind of chill off of being like in Elden Ring search and find mode in the field, and go back to kind of like you know, digesting and chewing on what we already got. See if anything else sticks out to me, like we just had with that minor Erd tree. And then and I think then once if that's the case, that like a lot of that stuff, at least in the lands between, is being solved, then now the question will become, okay, what does that tell us about the Realm of Shadow? What's it tell me that Arteria leaves are not reappearing here? What's it tell me that we have these well, we talked about the Golden Fireflies, but I already covered that one. What does it mean, for example, now that we have, like, say, these new mushrooms, right, with the flesh stuff? Like, is there anything actually meaningful there? Is there actually something about the red and white flesh mushrooms that I'm not considering? So, like, that might be the next phase of being like, okay, we have to, like, shift gears all the way over here. Because, like, oh, this is a perfect example. The Nameless Mausoleum. Oh, I don't think I've been there for this one. Okay, so this is actually the perfect example of what I'm talking about. So we have a knight here, a knight of the solitary jail, as it's called. Now, this is apparently part of an order of knights. So this guy isn't alone. There we go. He is one in an order of so-called solitary knights. Now, what's interesting here is, of course, there's the knight himself. Don't think we can see his face, though, because of this helmet. Oh, yeah, they got it. They talk about a crest, and I have to assume it's these things. And this guy confused me greatly when we initially saw him. Because like it's basically just kind of like, oh yeah, there's this order of knights, and it's like, oh okay, anything else you want to tell us about them? Not really. We'll tell you instead more about these, give you basically a tutorial on what the concept of these nameless mausoleums are, which are their own weird thing, but you know, that's a separate discussion. With all that said, there we go. Perfect. With all that said, I do feel like we actually do get to know a lot. Like, we know the moon slash thing is a thing. I don't know if it's an actual true moon stuff, though. It seems to be, at least the description only mentions, like, actual light just generic light. And I can't really tell from what I've seen in videos and stuff if it's supposed to be actual genuine moonlight or not. But the fact it uses the term moon is a big giveaway of a connection to Liurnia and Caria. The repeating crossbow feels by itself not very informative either, like very generic. But it does kind of remind me of the mechanical prowess of what we see with the farm colonists use, which has me suspicious. And then there's the question of what would be the solitary jail, and there's the idea of like, this is, I guess, supposed to represent the radiance of being born, of like nativity, and this is supposed to represent the solitude, which, yeah, sure, fair enough. But why is this idea that, oh, the radiance of being born and the solitude? Well, the radiance of being born, of course, radiance being strongly connected to the stars and stuff like that, and this idea that we are stardust and things like that. So it's like, okay, there's something already there that's, again, kind of tying back to Liurnia and sorcerers, astrology, and all that stuff. He used a perfumer bolt, so there's that. That's another thing to take into consideration for sure. So there's a connection, therefore, to perfuming as well with these guys. Ooh, yeah, that actually builds up onto a point. And then there's this idea, again, goes back to my question of what is the solitary jail? Is the armor supposed to be the jail? Because they're like, it's supposed to be like a group of knights, but yet they're supposed to be solitary in prison. So what if the armor itself is supposed to be their prison? Obviously, you have the idea that it has like the slits, like almost like a jail cell type thing, right? Right? So I'm taking all this into consideration. Also, it's black or whatever, like darkness. So like, you know, like you're as if you're in a dark cell. So it's almost as if the idea that like the solitary jail is themselves. And the reason why I'm taking that all is because of like, okay, the nameless mausoleums all have a pattern going for them where the direction does tell you a bit about where they come from, right? So we have the Rana south Caelid area. If you want to make the argument that's like completely foreign to the lands between, you can make an argument still that it has to come from the southern area based on the cultural parallels we see going on with Tanith. So again, Rana, south. Makes sense. East, we have the land of reeds because we have the Raksha, right? Our wonderful Rakshasa. Where is it? Oh, right, because I haven't unlocked it on this character yet, right? Of course. So like we have the eastern one like somewhere over here, right? Then we have the northern one with Red Bear. Red Bear related to the Red Mains, related to Leyndell and stuff like that. And of course, the Shadowkeep, everything. So like, yeah, everything north would place Red Bear north. And then we have west, Liurnia. Now again, I'm not saying that the idea being that they necessarily traveled across from the west or something like that ended up here, especially if the idea is supposed to be these are knights, right? This is supposed to be an entire group of knights or what have you. The thing I would like to note is that the Western Nameless Mausoleum is not that far from Castle Ensis, among major settlements there, right? Not that far as far it is. Like, again, we know what the influence of Castle Ensis goes, at least as far as the Elec Great Bridge with the forces and the camps and everything there. So already something's definitely going on there. We see other stuff like Red Mane people and stuff like that out there, so it's not unusual for soldiers and things to be here. At the same time, the repeater crossbow is by the Morth ruins, which again, Morth obviously reference to the moon there, kind of in the name. We have the idea of a moon getting dropped on it by our good old friend R'hllana, right? Again, Castle Ensis, not too far from this location, and more importantly, I don't know if I picked it up here on this character, but apparently the repeater crossbow is looted from a corpse in this camp area. So you have, again, an idea of a Mesmer camp out here by the ruins that R'hllana destroyed, not too far from the castle where R'hllana is staying at. And it's making me kind of take it all together and think, oh, we may have a case of how do I put it? I think we may have a case where essentially there's a bunch of like slave soldiers that R'hllana brought with her, and I'm wondering if the idea is these slave soldiers are the children of the Farum colonists, who maybe they weren't fighters or something, maybe they were just women and children or whatever, but the idea being is that they took them as prisoners of war after taking Caria Manor. Obviously all the fighters or whatever died, but others who might have surrendered or whatever, what do you do with them? Are you returning them to like Farum Azula or something like that? Are you keeping them as spoils of war? Like, how exactly is all that being settled out? And I think the idea being is that essentially they trained basically their own like Janissaries, right? Their own little slave army, and R'hllana takes that slave army and brings it with her, and these are knights who, much like the Banished Knights and stuff that we see, there we go. Much like the Banished Knight stuff that we see, which also seems to be operating under R'hllana's command. The idea being is that these are the actual soldiers that she had brought with her. Oh, that is so funny. I don't know if that's intentional, but it kind of looks like some of the stuff we see with the Fel God, doesn't it? So, and if you, again, adding the perfumer bolt thing that Xavier mentioned, that might actually add more to it, because we know there's some overlap happening. I think we have to go this way, right? No, wait, why am I stupid? Just jump to the checkpoint. There we go. We'll go this way, same thing. The things I do to don't screw myself over in the future. Anyway, point is we have nobles with pages in this area, and the pages definitely use perfumer bolts. So you could definitely imagine the idea of R'hllana's slave soldiers getting their hands on some of that for the war effort. I can see that's definitely a way to justify it for this boss fight. It's a way to help connect it as well. Actually, it would give especially strong reason why they felt like they need to have the nobles and pages there anyway. Because they really didn't need to do that. Yeah. And these guys using sorcery. So either these are moon nobles who've adopted Erdtree affectations, or these are supposed to be Erdtree nobles who have learned Liurnian or I should say Carian arts. Either way, same result. We have the pages here with perfumer bolts, but not fundamentalist high pages or anything like that, because that isn't a thing yet. That shouldn't be a thing, so they shouldn't exist here, in theory. I forget what's in all these chests too. If there's any special importance to the specific rooms and stuff they may be in. Yeah, another one. And then all these guys who are invisible and stuff like that, right? Yeah. It's notable. I just forgot how many dogs they have kept around here. Not noble dogs either. Was FA on or connected to the Jagged Peak at some point? FA was here. Jagged Peak was probably around here-ish. Somewhere in this region, right? So Bale, for Bale, it'd be a quick flyover. to get to and from Jagged Peak and Far Missoula. Based on what we now that we can definitely say that there's a clear parallel between Bale's boss room and Placky's boss room. I think it's probably was Bale's long-standing hideout. Like that's where he was like seething about everything. I think that's probably the idea they're going for. And that what happened was that there we go. Perfect. I think the idea was that basically when Bale lost, he went back to his hideout, but of course they're tracking him, of course, obviously, because they just tried to he just tried to commit regicide, so they know where he's hiding, right? And they just essentially send an entire army and stuff after him, and then he's like fighting off at his safe zone for the rest of his days. Also, remember that to the room to the right after the enchanted bridge, the shields on the walls have a different tree symbol than normal after the enchanted bridge. That I do not recall off the top of my head. Maybe we took shots of this in the past, but... Also, guys, you're being so messy with all your documents. Like, you can't be doing this. Oh, Mesmer soldiers. Consider the fact they're emphasizing also the presence of Mesmer's army with them at Kensalensis. I can't imagine these are definitely Erdtree. The entrance bridge. Oh, you mean the one we were just in next to the troll, right? Yeah, autocorrect B like that. B's, right? Oh my god. I hate it. Yeah, I don't remember what these shields look like normally, so... There we go. There we go. Perfect. I don't know if it's an older cut design or what. I wouldn't be surprised if it's an older cut design. The problem is, do these shields get mounted anywhere else? And do they have the current in-game design? There we go. Well, there's a Mesmer camp behind you. Yeah, there is. I'm just trying to point out, like, you have the Mesmer soldiers throughout this area, whatever, the everything, like, it's very clear the idea that there's an intermixing going on, so I can definitely buy that like I said, in most cases, when we find the invisible teleporting nobles, I think they're supposed to be moon nobles. I don't think they're supposed to be Erdtree nobles, and they're just adopting Erdtree noble fashion and stuff because obviously after Ratigan becomes king consort to Mary, well, after he marries into Renala, the Liurnia basically ends up becoming a subordinate vassal state in Marika's empire, and then obviously once he becomes definitely after he becomes Elden Lord, then like there's absolutely that incentive for the elite classes to just kind of you know, do what's fashionable, right, over in Lane Dell. But here in this context, before pre-Lyrian Wars, right? You know, pre all of that stuff, I can imagine these guys are intended to just be, oh no, like we'll teach you all our secrets, but you're Erdtree nobles, right? I just can't see R'hllana bringing moon nobles with her, especially if she's bringing slave armies and stuff instead. Like Ymir, that makes sense. You could argue, oh, I guess the game crashed. Well, I don't think we're getting it back here, chat. I think the game decided it would crash right now. Ymir's son, we don't know exactly if Ymir's son was a knight or a soldier or something for Liurnia. I can imagine him being a knight, because if his dad's working as like a sorcery professor for the Carians, like you have to imagine the guy's probably following in that line to some point, and like being a knight would be the obvious one, and then him falling in battle would make sense if he's being brought here, you know? Maybe you could say it's a design for the normal Erdtree before they dump the Shadow Trees. I don't know. It's so... Okay, we have had stuff like that before, like say with Lothric with the Lion Shield versus the Dragon Shield used by the actual enemies. The problem is the Lion Shield is widespread, so it's a very universal. It's obviously much a larger symbol, so it's very obvious. Like you can't really go around and be like, oh man, I missed, you know, when I was looking at that shield, I completely missed the lion on it, right? This is something where it's like, yeah, you could pass that if it's in like this one instance in this one room, and you could pass it by very easily. Not even noticing the symbol, let alone that's different from the normal one. I don't know. I don't know if I would believe that there's anything intentional going on there. All right, chat. So I think this is a good time to stop, because clearly my my game has El Cresto. So sorry to say, guys. Gonna try to close that down. Thank you guys so much for listening to me ramble. There's so much chat, like so much going through my brain. But like I'm looking, I'm like we're making progress. We're actually like getting down on all this stuff. There's not as much environmental storytelling to get through as there used to be. I'm actually really proud of myself on that front. So that's really neat in many respects. But yeah, this is all. There we go. I'm gonna try to close this thing down forcefully. This was all a fun little exercise, considering that it's so late and I am tired as fuck. Let me go check on the dog now, make sure she's sleeping all right. And until then, chat, later, bye-bye.